What's up, y'all? Great Monday morning. Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Go ahead and interact with the video. I can't tell you whether to like it, love it, or whatever you want to do, but go ahead and comment at least. And let's get the conversation going as far as Auburn football. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. I'm your host here on Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, War Eagle. So I'm going to tell you some things that I really hope to see. One, I really hope to see the Auburn versus North Carolina game happen because I want to see North Carolina and Auburn put themselves on the spot with some of the greatest talent, some great talent in the Power Five, especially when you intermingle the SEC and ACC football in a neutral site in Atlanta. I don't see why this game shouldn't happen. Because for number one, you got a way that you can check temperatures. I'm going to show this little thing that I was exposed to when I was at the hospital the other day. You know, they can check temperatures. They can check, do social distancing and all those different types of things. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a relatively new stadium to where sanitization should not be an issue. Of course, in tailgating spots, sanitization and social distancing should be taking place there as well. But this is a game that absolutely should happen because I want to see a couple of things. One, I think Auburn's defense outside of the secondary, which is kind of non-existent at the moment, should not. I'm not worried about them. What I want to see is this tandem at linebacker. I think these guys are going to be a straight-up problem for teams in the SEC or whoever they face. I'm talking about KJ Britt, Zacoby McClain, Owen Pappo, Chandler Wooten, and the newcomer Wesley Steiner. One thing about this that is important, let's take a small little trip back to 2018 when Auburn was going down their little downslide, probably one of the worst slides in Gus Malzahn's career, starting with the Mississippi State game and then getting even worse with the actually, it started with the LSU game. I think if Auburn manages to pull that game off, you have a different set of Auburn Tigers. But that 22-21 loss to LSU really set the tone for the rest of that particular season. Going to Mississippi State, giving up all those yards, Tennessee surrendering a 30-24 loss to a very, very bad Tennessee team, and then continuing that slide all the way into just having enough talent to beat Ole Miss. And then let's just say if Texas A&M were able to pull that game off in Jordan-Hare Stadium, then you might not even be thinking about an Auburn team with Gus Malzahn right now. So let's go back. During that particular stretch, Auburn was allowing almost 400 plus yards per game, 30 plus points per game, probably one of the worst outcomes in Kevin Steele's career. Now, let me tell you why this happened. Now, you can agree to disagree all you want to, but the linebackers just were not athletic enough. Deshaun Davis, Montavious Atkinson, those guys just did not cover the edge good enough. The defensive line was okay. Of course, you had Derek Brown, who was very inconsistent at the time. Really didn't have any solidarity at the Buck linebacker position. So the defense was nicely pieced together, I guess you could say. Noah Igbenogany, his first outing as a field cornerback in the SEC. So, that's an accident waiting to happen. So Auburn during this stretch gives up a lot of yards, gives up a lot of points. But let's go to 2019. Auburn started to get a little bit more clever about this. Smaller linebackers, much quicker, with a good defensive line. They took their thought processes back to 2004 when Travis Williams was linebacker then. He's currently now the defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. But when we looked at that team, those guys were actually undersized. When you looked at the Auburn linebackers from 2019, they were very undersized, just like in 2004. They look like little, I mean, kind of, sort of, not even oversized, but look like members of the secondary. As a matter of fact, Daniel Thomas and, Jeremiah Denson actually look to be the same size as KJ Britt, Chandler Wooten, Zacoby McClain, and Owen Pappo. But it worked because Auburn had a lot more athleticism at the linebacker position, and it gave Kevin Steele the opportunity to have more options as to what he could do. Do you think he could have pulled that 3-1-7 defense off against LSU with the slow linebackers he had in 2018, 2017? Of course not. Of course not. The speed of the linebacker position for Auburn is what has elevated Kevin Steele's options. And that's why I think these guys can be a serious problem, because they can cover the intermediate passing game. They are strong enough to tackle. They have a good enough defensive line to hold offensive linemen up to where they can shoot through gaps. I think this could be a really interesting development in the SEC, which is why a lot of folks may think that Auburn could be the number 2 team in the SEC West behind Alabama. Now, why is Auburn behind Alabama? Well, Alabama recruits very well. They put themselves in a position every year, at least from a recruiting standpoint, to be among the elite in the country year in and year out. So I'm not going to argue with that, because when you look at it, Auburn has got to do some miraculous stuff to really beat Alabama. And that I'm not saying that in a shameful kind of way, but these guys are really good. Alabama's a really good football team. They're balanced on every level possible. Defense was kind of hurting a little bit because of injury, but otherwise you can't argue the fact that Alabama has one of the more elite squads in the country, one of the better rosters in the country. But I want you guys to really look out for these linebackers for Auburn coming into the 2020 season. Of course, let's put the disclaimer out there, assuming that the 2020 season happens. But these guys probably will be a huge problem, will be a huge issue for offensive coordinators. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.